Hello.
Hello.
Are you Nora?
No, I'm Martha
Oh,
Roman.
okay.
She's not
I'm
in
Carol.
yet.
Okay, I'm Carol Drum.
Hi, Carol. How you doing?
I'm okay. I thought I better check in early because some of these things, if
I
I'm in,
know.
they don't go.
Yeah, I waited a little while last time, and then I had trouble. I waited too long. But I said the
Yeah.
same thing. I better do it early. Yep. I'm gonna go to get my liturgy of the hour. I'll be right back.
Okay. Ooh.
Okay. And so now what happens if I have to get on this while I'm on
You won't.
this?
I don't think you can.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Are you Nora?
No, I'm Jean.
Okay, Jean. I'm Carol.
Hi, Carol.
Hi. There was one other person on here too, but she had to get her liturgy of the hours.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
I'm pretty new to this.
Okay. I think somebody's trying to get in.
That's me. That's
Oh, hi,
Oh,
Diane.
Hey,
there's Diane Ambrose. It's so nice to see the person behind the name. Carter.
well, the person's a little ragged, but yeah.
That's okay.
So tell me your name, Tom's laptop.
Jean Carter.
Oh, Jean Carter, nice to meet you.
FFG.
Hi, she. This
Hello.
is Nora.
Oh, there's Ken. No, you're not Ken.
I'm Nora.
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 I was gonna say, you don't look like Ken to me. Hi, Nora.
Nice to meet you, Jean.
Yeah,
It's good
this
to
one,
meet you.
Nora, they hadn't put the waiting room in yet, so that was good.
Hi,
Okay.
Diane. Can you see me?
I can see you, Carol.
Okay, good. I just
Look
wanted to
very
make sure.
nice.
Thank you. You look nice too.
Oh, thank you.
Except for you've lost weight, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I was just looking in the mirror. My friend, she's a professor at the university and she was in inquiry stage and then dropped out of the Athens, the San Damiano fraternity, but is gonna probably start going to Aiken with me eventually. But she, Dorothy, come say hi. These are Franciscans.
Hey, hi. I'm
Hello.
Carol.
So this is Dr. Figueroa or Dorothy.
Hi there.
Okay.
I'm sorry I can't be any longer in the process. I hope to get back into it, but it was rather impossible. But it'll be done. Take care.
Okay.
I want to
Well,
say
the
hi to
Uncle Bee.
Carol.
Oh,
Joined the meeting.
Oh,
Hi. Yeah.
uh,
Now that was Nora, wasn't it? Just now.
Right.
Yes, that was
Yeah,
Nora.
There she is. Yeah. Hi.
does Barbara not have a picture?
Maybe she's hiding.
Hello,
Oh, she doesn't have her
I
video
can't get
on.
my computer working properly. So I'm
Oh,
doing it
okay.
by
Well, as long
phone.
as you can you see us?
I can see you guys.
Okay. Nora, are you gonna need me to show those handouts?
When we get to it, the one that's the Nafra database
Yeah.
cheat sheet. That's a good one. Tongue
Oh, the
twister.
cheat sheet. I've got that right here.
Okay. I just needed to put it in my computer, pull it
Yeah.
up in my computer. I do it now before we start, and I'm looking.
And
for it.
there's the other one I don't know is it was just instructions. It's the same thing, but it's just a sheet that has the instructions.
Okay.
That is the mouse for that one. That's for that one.
Nora, I'm gonna show you this. Is this what you want?
Think you're muted.
I mean, is that what you want?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Thank you.
let's stop sharing.
that's fine.
Okay. Hey, Charlie.
Hi there. How y'all doing?
Okay. I just moved. I finally got my pictures hung up. The place is starting to look like home.
I love the doorbell sound.
Yeah.
Tom, you think we ought to close the blinds for the dogs?
Oh, I need
Yeah.
to turn off that.
Yeah, I have to have my husband close the blinds or because I'm set up in the dining room and they can look.
Yeah. I just realized
People
my
walk the dog. their
my
dog.
big light was on in the living room here because we were hanging pictures.
Mm.
So you want to see a cute picture?
Sure.
See that?
Oh, look. I want to see the animals.
That is the animals. I thought I'll show them.
Yeah, but who's who?
Okay, so can you see him? I can't see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
see him.
Mr. Zeke's on the left.
Mr. Zeke,
He's the cat, and Lady
Uh-huh.
Molly's the doggy.
Lady Molly. I
Look at the doggy.
love it. I
So
love it.
Lady Molly just turned 11. I rescued her a year ago from a breeder.
Uh-huh.
And Zeke is just turned 18, and
Wow.
my vet found him on the side of the road, and since we're in Athens with the vet school, he hires third-year students as his technicians. And so the girl wanted to try to save him. His whole face, right side was crushed in. He only has one eye and everything. And so she did a wonderful job. And so he called me. I told him I was looking
You
for a
said, where's the
dog coach,
volume?
and he told me he had a 10-year-old one-eyed black male.
Louder. Softer.
Yeah, louder. She hasn't talked now. Now she's. Oh, I'm not talking. I'm just trying to make the volume so I can hear.
Oh, okay.
Top one is louder.
Louder, okay.
This light is too much.
Hey. So I'm just a technical person tonight.
No.
Nora's running the show.
Oh, it's too dark.
Poor people.
No.
Okay, there we go. I got it. Too dark. I'll leave it this way. It's too dark.
Barbara? Barbara, is your mom
Yes.
Shirley?
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Is your mom Shirley?
My mother-in-law, yes.
Your mother-in-law? Yeah, she's on my council. I love her.
Oh, wonderful.
She is so great. I really love her.
Hey, Ken.
This is Nora. It says Ken, but I'm Nora.
No, Ken Brooke
Oh,
just got on.
okay.
No, I'm sorry. I can
I
rename
see it.
you actually.
Is
Me
Ken
too.
Brooke here?
Yeah, he's there in the
Yes.
corner.
No idea who anybody
He
is.
I
has
don't
his
have-
headphones on.
I don't have the picture on the bottom of who's here.
You may have to go to a second screen. Well, no, we're not on a second screen yet.
Okay, so I'm just gonna leave it. I'm here.
If
I do anything.
you all want to just see Nora when she's talking, you can go to speaker view. I'm also going to make her co-host, which will make things a little better.
Teresa.
Is this Miss Barbara Umpleby?
Yes,
Hi, this is Nora.
you can see me, but I can't talk on the computer. I'm talking on my phone.
What you got on? That's great.
Got on, that's great. There we go. Nora.
Ah, there's.
Hello.
I saw you.
Hey, Dorvian.
Kitten. We don't need to be playing with that right now, okay? You're making a lot of noise.
Got lots of people.
Is this your meeting?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the wrong person. Darn.
Hello, this is Ian Molina.
No.
Why does it keep doing the dee sound?
The what sound?
What does it keep?
No, that painting.
Somebody joined me.
Never mind.
There we go. Nora, do you know how many we're going to get on?
I have no idea.
Okay, I didn't either, so.
I know some people had said they were going to join us when you first sent the invitation out.
Yeah, Yeah, but most of those folks are here.
Okay, good. Like I said, you'll have to send me a list. I can't see who's coming in.
Okay, all right. How do I do that? Oh. If everybody in the chats goes to the chat screen and puts your name in, we'll have a row of who was here.
Uh-oh. I hope I can do
Well,
that.
well, if you can't do that if you've called in, well, I'll write you. I'll just write you down. I'll just write you down. That'll be
How do we
easier.
go into the chat screen?
Don't worry about it. I'm just gonna make a list.
It says go into the chat screen. And the chat screen is there. But
No,
doesn't-
don't worry about going into the chat screen.
Oh, okay.
I'll make it simple.
There we go.
Thank you. Didn't take any.
Yeah, I think you go to the participants, click the participants, you will see all the names.
Big glare on my screen. So glary. Maybe it's better that way. No, it's a window. Mm-mm.
Hey, this is Pat. Can you hear me? Pat from
Yes.
Blairsville.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Nora, it's 5 after if you want to start.
Okay, everybody. Hello. Good
Hello.
evening.
Hello.
I wanna-
Oh,
Hello.
I'm on an iPad, so I don't have and I don't want to touch anything because I'm not that savvy and everybody may disappear. So I saw the names coming
Know
up.
that feeling.
I know how that is.
I wanted to welcome everybody and glad that all those that are here. I want to just share with you that all of us who are attending are database managers or ministers or ministers. And I'm under the impression that some of us are novices, some of us are seasonal, or seasoned, and some are in between. But it doesn't matter. We're all here, and you know that Diane is helping with the Zoom. If you haven't figured out, I'm Nora Wesley, and just a little bit, very little. I'm a member of the St. Elizabeth of Hungary fraternity in Augusta, Georgia. And as you know, I'm also the secretary of the region. And I have shared with many of you that part of my responsibilities is to help maintain to maintain the database in the region, with the understanding that the region in the local fraternity has the responsibility of maintaining their local data, and I really appreciate that. So part of my role is to provide whatever support and information to all of you, and that's why we're doing this tonight. Okay, I'd like to start out with the purpose of the meeting. One is to understand how the password and login works. The next thing is to understand the sections in the fraternity's database and to be aware of their uses. To understand the importance of keeping up the information in each section that is updated. And then to hopefully be able to go over how to update the information that has changed. I wanted to just real briefly to explain why I asked y'all to make a copy of your Nafra database. I don't have the use of as you can tell, a slideshow or anything. So we're going to use the database as a means of, as we go through the presentation, as we discuss, so you can look at that and know what we're discussing. And as far as the article
Okay.
that was in this, any questions? As far as the article, that was just an introductory. It was an article in the spring 2020 Communio. I'm not going to go over the article, but there were some things in there that hopefully gave you a background of some things that we'll be touching upon. So I feel it's a useful resource. I was rereading it this evening and I realized there are a couple things already a little bit different. So hopefully I'll be pointing that out. And then something that I recommended was the database users manual, the Nafra manual. I don't know if any of y'all have ever used that, but I highly recommend it. It's a valuable resource. And I think the pages are like 1 to 7 and then 16 on. You know, there's a section in there that has to do with the region, which y'all don't need to do, but I will be referring to some of that tonight, some parts of it. The attachments that were sent out to you, again, was the Nafra database, cheat sheet. Good tongue twister for me. That really was put together by our administrator, the national administrator. Excuse me. And then I also had sent another attachment. It's just the instructions on how to get the password. Is everybody still on? Is everybody still there?
Yeah, we muted
Yes.
everybody so you could.
I'm
so-
still here.
Okay, so, because I don't know if I was just talking to myself. So.
No, we muted everybody because it's better to hear the speaker if everybody's muted.
Right. Okay. I just want to make sure. So, but if you have any questions, you know, somehow I guess Diane know. I don't know how, but anyway, if as I go along, if there are any questions. Before I continue, I'd like to start with an opening prayer, and I'm going to go ahead and just read it. In the name of the Father and Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Father, we thank you for this day and for the opportunity we have in coming together this evening as servant leaders of the fraternities and the brothers and sisters of St. Francis region. May everything we do begin with your inspiration, continue with your help, and reach perfection under your guidance. Be with us this evening as we learn what is ours to do with the management of our local fraternities Nafra database. In the spirit of our seraphic Father, St. Francis, and in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So now the first thing that I wanted to touch upon, which whenever you go into the database, is logging into it. So if you've gotten access from the administrator and if you've gotten your password, that's all working. What you do, many of you know this, you go to the login page, which again on that, I don't know why I'm having a hard time, on that sheet that Syl sent us, she has the address there where when you're going to get a password, but it's the Nafra -sfo.org. And you click onto that. You have to scroll down where it says passwords, a little bit more. I don't know if you can see it, but right there, okay, is the website. So if you're going to go ahead and log in, you go there, and what you do is you get a screen and you go, okay, what do I check? You go to the database, you click on that, and that should bring you to the login page. I don't have a picture of that, so if you've been logging in, it says Nafra user ID. There's a block, so you put your email address in there. And then in the next block is password, and that's your own password. You put that in there, and you click submit, and you should be at your database page. Now, I have an outline too. I forgot about the outline. Everybody, I sent an outline to all. I hope you have it. I'm going to try to follow this. And on that outline, it says password information. I wanted to share that for security reasons, when they developed, Dave National developed the database, the password is only good for 90 days. I think everyone knows that. But what does that mean? That means that every 90 days it'll expire. And once it expires and you don't do anything, you cannot get in. The database cannot get in until you put a new password. And this is where they've changed a little bit in that sheet that Diane just put up, where it says passwords. And they've changed that a little bit so that if you need to change your password, you do the instructions that are on that page right there. Create a temporary password, then change your password to the one. So you do everything that it says there. If you have the access from the administrator, you don't need to get a new access from her. If you can't get in, you just need to change your password. And if you follow those directions, I've had several people who couldn't get in. They've been able to get in. So if you do that, you follow those instructions and you still are having trouble, then you can go ahead and call me or email me and we'll see what we can do. What I wanted to share with everyone initially, first time you ever get the password, lots of times it's when there's been an election and you've been designated to be the database manager. What happens there is that your name with your email address is sent to Dorothy Ann, the minister. And she is the one who goes ahead and contacts Syl. And Syl's name, I'm not going to say her whole name, we just call her Syl, C-Y-L. And she goes ahead and asks for access to the database. And she's the one who grants access to that. And you'll either get an email from her or you'll hear from Dorothy Ann. So once you get access in there, then you proceed to do what I've just said with the password. At any other time, you can, for some reason, maybe you're just new on the council or whatever, and you weren't elected, but you've never been in, you can either contact me or Dorothy Ann. We are the ones to request the access from Syl. That Syl does not want people going in and asking her on that particular thing. So I just wanted to share that with you. I also wanted to share with you that you can avoid being knocked out of the database if your password expires by just keeping up with when that password would expire. You can put it on your calendar. Let's say you got it renewed, 90 days, count 90 days, whatever, and mark it on your calendar, whichever way you want to do that. And a couple of days before the password will expire, you can change the password. And it's not going through what Syl says, it's going through the database. And we're going to look at that in a few minutes, okay? So another thing is about changing the password. I wanted to emphasize nobody's going to change it for you. The responsibility of changing the password is up to you. You will not get a reminder. Many of you probably know this. If you've been going, you're not going to get a reminder that it's about to expire. When it expires, you're trying to use your password. It should say change password. And then you can proceed to do what instructions. Any questions on that? Password? I know in the past, I think maybe some other people have changed the password I don't know what they've done, but nobody's going to do it but you. Okay. If there's no questions, I will say this. This happened to one person, and I don't know how often it happens, but if you go ahead and you put your email address in there and you put your password, and then you get something back, invalid password, no, invalid email. Contact me. I will contact Syl. You have been kicked out. Don't ask me why, but that can happen. So if you put in your email address and you follow the instructions and it says your email is invalid, no way you can get in. Syl has to help us. The next thing that I'm going to go through is what it says there. We're going to go over, if you have your page, It says the main local fraternity page. And each person hopefully was able to copy their just to have a visual. On the very top is, I never realized this, I was secretary for our fraternity years ago, and I never paid attention to this, but at the very top, it says the name of your fraternity. Maybe y'all know this. But also there are links. Right under that, there are links, there are action links. And we're on the page where you're looking right above the local fraternity details. On the very top, it says edit fraternity, add SFO member, show members, and change password. Now, I bring that to your attention because as a database manager, there are 3 things on that local fraternity details that you need to change when it is appropriate. One is if you have an election. Anytime you have an election, if you notice on the right-hand side where it says list of fraternity details, date of last election, well, if you've had an election, it's no longer going to be what's there. You've got to click edit fraternity. Then go to where the election space is, delete that and enter the new date, and then submit. Don't forget to submit. Go to the bottom and it says there's a submit button. Same thing you do with the pastoral visit dates. That has to be changed whenever you have a visitation. The only other thing that has to change, and I have seen a discrepancy and I just haven't been able to check with the fraternities, the meeting times. And what I mean is I've been brought to my attention, sometimes you change either the time or the day or whatever. So please check to make sure in your details there about your fraternity where it says meeting time, that is when you're meeting and that's the time, okay? You're the only one who can change that. The next thing is just the local detail, the next thing on the page was, the next link is the SFO member, add SFO member. Now, according to the instructions on the manual, if you're adding a member, this is where you would check on that link, and then you go to the page where you put your name and your address, and you put all the stuff about the person. You keep going down. It's really self-explanatory. If a person was in inquiries the first time, you would use that page, and you would click on, put the little dot where it says inquiry. When we're inquiry, I'm going ahead of myself, is when they're accepted. They're accepted into the fraternity. They're not admitted. They're not professed. They are accepted. And we can put inquirers into the database. So if you have any inquirers and you don't have them on your database, this is how you would do it. You click on add SFO member and you mark inquirer and you put the date they were accepted, because that means accepted means they were an inquirer, and whatever information is appropriate there for them. Now, if you have somebody in your database that's already an inquirer, you wouldn't have to add. I'm jumping ahead of myself, but we'll get to that. If it's somebody new, or maybe you do have a candidate, you never did put an inquirer in, and you want to add them to the database, you would go ahead and click on that link, add SFO member, and do the same thing. It's self-explanatory. I think page 24 of that manual, you'll find instructions for the candidate. I'm just pointing that out. The last link up there, I'm not going to even go over show members, because that's just showing members and you can look at your database. I don't have any, maybe someone else does. They can tell us about that. But you notice up there it says change password. And in a little while ago, I mentioned how you could change your password if you wanted to. Let's say your password's going to change tomorrow and it's going to expire tomorrow and you can change it today. You click on change password and just follow what it says. It's very easy to follow the directions there. But in the manual, page 36 in the manual, there's some instructions about that. If you change your password a few days before, guess what? You'll always be able to get into the database until the end of the next 90 days. So you can not have to go through the whole hassle of, oh my gosh, I can't get in. If you can keep up with when that 90 days is and a few days before, get on there, go change your password, you have it for another 90 days. Any questions with that so far?
I had one question. This is Ann Mallon.
Hi,
Hi. On changing, when it says about date of the meeting, if you have just a temporary change, a month, is that, you don't have to make that change, you just,
what do you mean a temporary change? Temporary?
say that month you had to do it at a different week like this month, we had to have our meeting on the third Thursday instead of the second
Okay.
Thursday.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't change it.
Okay,
No,
just,
It's
okay,
a permanent change.
okay.
Right. Things come up and yeah, you have to have your meeting on a different day. That's a good question.
Okay.
No, it's more of a permanent.
All
Now,
right, thank you.
if your temporary turns into a permanent, then you'll have to change it.
Okay, thanks a lot.
You're welcome. That's a good question. If you don't have any more questions, we're ready to move on to the next section of the database, which is the local officers. And that's really the your council members, the people who were elected. As soon as you have an election, I highly recommend that you go ahead and enter the new people that have been elected. One thing that still has, and I've mentioned it to many before, whenever you're going to put the new person in the position, whether it's minister, whatever the position is, don't remove the old person, don't remove the outgoing person. Because if you do, you're going to delete the position. You have to, that sounds crazy. And I'll tell you what you do if you have done that. You want to go to assign new first. Okay, so let's say you have your new minister, you assign the new minister. It's going to take you to a link. Let me find where it is so I can follow. Okay. You go to a page where you can type in the last name of the person who was elected. Just put in, the person's name will come up and it has an action next to it. You press that, which means assign. So that means then you'll have, so that person, the new person who's elected, you'll have two ministers. You'll have the outgoing one and the one who was elected. Well, then you go to the one who's outgoing and click remove. And this is where I will need to have some people who've done it. I think Carol may have done it, Carol Drum. I haven't done it, so I can't. If you remove, I don't know if it immediately removes or if you go again to a page like you did when you were assigning. But in any event, follow directions and that person will come off. And you do that with everybody. Any questions on that as far as putting new people on that have been elected?
Nora, at the top of that, there's a link that says add office. So if you inadvertently remove somebody, can't you just click add office and put that position?
I forgot. If you remove someone, you have removed the position. I can't get that position back. You need to let me know, and I let Sil know, the administrator, and she puts that position, she recreates the position again.
So what is that add office link for?
I don't know.
When I did, this is Barbara, I'm sorry, when I accidentally removed one of my counselors, I had to call somebody to put that link back in.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Don't remove the person first.
Yeah.
That's a good question, Teresa. I don't know. Add office, delete office. Maybe you could go to add office, and sometimes this database repeats itself. You can do the same things with pressing different things. But since to the right there's actions, I know that works. What I shared with you. But if for any reason you and I'm going to go through that minute. If for any reason you delete the position, let me know, then I contact Sil, and then she gets it back on and you got your position back on. So that's why we assign the new person first before taking the old one.
Nora, I just want to share something, if I may.
Yes.
We're not.
I can't hear you.
Certain things we're not allowed to do on the database, and I know where it says add an office, we're not allowed. It doesn't. It has to go through the database manager. Even like we can't add a spiritual assistant. Certain things for some reason or other we're just not allowed to do, and it's got to go through the database manager. Because when I update things in the region, and I've also updated certain fraternities when people have asked me to do so. I have accidentally deleted an office because I didn't put the new member, the newly elected person in first, and I got rid of the old, the outgoing, and I was like, oops. But again, that's how I've learned. But again,
right.
The direction is correct with what Nora, but certain things, again, we're just not, it's not possible. So we have to go somewhere else. Thanks.
Hey, Nora.
Yes.
I have a question. When you add a name of the inquirer, where would the name appear?
Okay, I'm going to get to that later.
Okay.
Hold that question. Good question. Hold it, because we're right now we're with the local officers section, and I wanted to share another time when somebody already mentioned it. Another time when you might need to have the SIL, the administrator, is if you've had an election and you only had 2 counselor positions on your database, but you had 3 counselors elected. Well, you don't have the position on your database. We need to have her put that position. And what I have done is the person has given me the name and the email address, and I give that to her. She recreates the position and adds that person on there for us. So that would be the only other time. Another time when, in this section now, I'm talking about the council, someone might resign. So that position is vacated. And we can do one of 2 things. If in your council, if you are going to put somebody in that position not too long, I would just wait until get that person's name and do what I just said, add first and then delete the other person. But I have also been told by Sil, if it's going to be a long, long time, and maybe it might be if you have a counselor who moves up to a position and you're not reelecting or you're not appointing, you don't have any more people to appoint to the counselor, you can get by with 2 counselors, then it is suggested to remove that person and you will have that position removed. If you, in the future, get a new counselor, let me know. Sil will go ahead and recreate that position. Any questions on that? I've kind of touched several times when you might have to remove somebody and put somebody in, and there were 3 different situations. I do want to, before we move on beyond this section, to say when you have a new election and you update, you put all the people in there, your update is not completed. You need to also make sure that the personal information of each of those people is updated. And what the personal information is, it's their home address, their phone number, and their email address.
Where is that?
Pardon? Okay.
I'm sorry, where would you find that?
All right, I'm going to go ahead. That's a good question. To do that, you click on the person's name, and that brings you up, brings you to a page, which is the member details page. And you click edit. We're going to go over it some more later on, but you click edit address. So no matter where you are in the database, whether it's here with the council, where it's with the active professed members, with its candidates or whatever, you want to check their personal information, always click on their name. It takes you to that page that is member details, and you click edit address. Okay. Later on,
Okay.
we're going to go there, but I just wanted to make that suggestion because for me,
Yeah.
since
Thank
I go ahead and update, which you all, some of you, the master copy that has the local officers, and I want to make sure that the information I'm sending is accurate. And so I look at the database to make sure what I have, if I don't have any other resource that has their address, their phone numbers. And if database has not been updated, then I don't know if what I have is correct or if the database is correct. And I have to then pursue more. So it'd be helpful for me if it's updated. And I'm sure a lot of other people. I will say, and I'll probably say it again, for those who are the local officers and the active professed, we're all professed, and we all get, and so do the candidates, we all get the TAL USA. If our address is not updated, you're not going to get your TAL USA because National doesn't have your address. They use this to know where to send it. If nobody else has any other questions with this section.
I have one more.
Okay.
One more. Nora. Hello, this is Kathy Sheehan. I have one quick question before you leave. Where it says local spiritual assistance on that first page. Oh, I can't find it just now. I lost me.
Nora, you're muted.
Hear you.
Nora, you're muted. Unmute yourself.
Oh, okay, thank you. Nora?
I've unmuted. Can you hear me?
Oh, thank you, Nora. I have one quick question. On that front page, this is Kathy Sheehan, I'm sorry.
Yes.
We have where it says local spiritual assistance.
Yes.
We have a new spiritual assistant, Ken Westling. You might know him.
Yes.
So I just went into the database and typed his name. Is that enough for me to do that? I put Ken Westling OFS. Is that enough?
Well, let me share
I've got to interject and say right now you're not able to enter Ken because he's not been appointed. You have to wait until he's been appointed.
No, he was approved, but he hasn't.
He's not been appointed yet by the provincial spiritual assistant, so it's not time yet to enter Ken's name in the database for our fraternity. Thanks.
And what I wanted, she's doing great though. She's wanting to get in there. The thing is that if you look at the sheet, I'm going to say the sheet, so I don't, that still has where it says local spiritual assistance. And at this point, okay, go to the very bottom where it says spiritual assistance. And it says the database administrator is the only one who should add, assign, remove spiritual assistance. So Kathy, even though you are eager to do that, let's say he was already appointed, you're not supposed to do that. It's supposed to be still. And that's what I wanted to point out.
I understand.
And also what I wanted to share with you, if you're looking at your database, not everybody has an assistant, spiritual assistant, and some people do. If you have a spiritual assistant under the name, you're going to have a name. And if you don't have anybody, it says no data available. Okay. And if you do have an assistant, spiritual assistant, and it's not on there, you can contact me. We'll let Sil know that that the person's been appointed or whatever. I wanted to say that by the same token, whenever this might happen, I have two things. We know that some of the spiritual assistants who are friars, and I know they haven't left yet, but they may or may not leave. If anybody who's a spiritual assistant vacates that, if the administrator doesn't know, we need to let her know so she can remove the person. What I would like to suggest that we can do as database manager. So here's one for you, Kathy, that you asked. Whenever you do have that spiritual assistant assigned by the administrator, I highly suggest that you go to the notation section. And how you do that, you would click on the name, who is the spiritual assistant, and you click edit profile. And you scroll down into the notes section. And I highly suggest that you enter the date of appointment and the name, who made the appointment. And then after you do that, click submit. So when you go back and you look at that person, and I'm jumping ahead, there's going to be the note section. It should show up what you just did so anybody can see, or if it doesn't, they can go to their profile and see if it's in there. And the reason why I say that is because recently we had a situation where we have some spiritual assistants, and we couldn't find it notated anywhere, and it would help a lot of people to know when they were appointed, because they are only appointed for 12 years. And so just to get information and who did the appointment. Any questions on that? If not, we'll move along. The next one is the member list. And the member list really consists of what it says there on your outline: active professed members, active candidates, active inquirers, inactive, and deceased. At any time on this list, no matter what lists are on there, the members, if you click on their name, I've already mentioned it, you will get that page, the members detail. And I'm trying to find, okay, here it is. And on that page is what I've been referring to without you realizing it. I don't have that. You can find this on page 28 in the manual. It's a page that has, if you go on the database, you can see it. If you click on their name, the top part is called contact information. And it's information that you added, the database manager added. It's your address, your email, and so forth. Below that is another section called SFO related information. And that's where, again, things have been entered for that professed person, like when they were professed, if they held an office, the local fraternity they belong to, etc. At the top of that page, and you can do this when you later and click on anybody's name or professed name, you will find links. And the links are edit profile, I've mentioned that already, edit address, mark as lapsed. That's where that question came up. We're going to go over that in a minute. Dismiss, withdraw, mark as deceased, mark as suspended, and transfer. So this page is where you go to select one of those links when you have someone. So I already had a question about where do you go if you have an inquirer. If it's a new inquirer, never been in the database, you go to add SFO member. And you fill all that out, and that's where you can mark they're an inquirer, when they were accepted, and when you have all that, you can press submit, and they're going to show up in your inquiry section on your database. Let me see a minute. If they're lapsed, that's a whole, well, before I get there, hold on. With everybody, I'm repeating myself, but it's important. Everybody on that database is supposed to have their information updated, their personal information. So no matter who they are, what list they're on, click their name, edit address, and change email, phone number, home address. And a suggestion has been made when we're updating anything on the database, we probably should at least go in every 2 months. That's less than 90 days. But you might go in more if you had somebody who passed away, if you had an election, if you had a profession, if you had an inquiry. You see how you would be going into your database more frequently. But if you're not having much going on in your fraternity, don't let 2 months go by without checking to make sure something is correct, okay, and accurate. Hold on. Let's see.
Laura, I have a question.
Yes.
Martha. I have a person in my inactive. She's under Catherine Winters, and again she is as K Winters. I confronted the counselor, and they told me they were the same people. Could I delete one of those? Right now, they're definite withdrawal.
Let me hold that question. Are they attending?
No, they withdrawal on
Now-
2015.
Okay, I'm gonna keep that question and come back to me because I'm
Okay.
gonna explain some other things.
Okay.
Let me see where I am first. Oh, okay. I wanted to say about the, I don't know, every fraternity is different, so I'm not telling you what to do. It's just a suggestion. But if you want to have, if somebody in your fraternity wants to help a database manager and you're supposed to keep up with the personal information, it would be so helpful if your fraternity had a roster. Either you're doing it or somebody in your fraternity has a membership roster, and you can set it up however way you want. We have in our fraternity a membership roster, and it has a bunch of stuff, but part of it also has their address, their phone number, their email address. But with us, we don't have just one parish. We have several parishes that belong to our fraternity. So out of interest, we have those listed. What parish do they belong? We have listed when were they professed, so if you wanted to do something for them. But the key thing about the database is that personal information, you can help your database manager or database manager see if somebody in your fraternity can help you by having a roster, and their responsibility is to keep it up, and you can rely on it. So when you have to check your information, do you have the correct information? So that's the first thing that you want to update. And I'm saying with your active, with any of the members. The next thing is what Martha was saying. Do you have members who are attending? Are they making efforts to remain active? Are they demonstrating inappropriate behaviors? That's where you as a fraternity and as a council need to address those things. But the database is kind of the end thing. If the fraternity decides somebody should be lapsed, they need to let the database person know. And then where do you go to do that? Well, where you go, you click on their name, you get to that page, you go where it says lapse, the link, and that will, when you do that, it'll bring up a date. And if y'all had a date, you enter the date, and that person is moved out of your active list to your inactive. Now I point that out because I'm ahead of myself, because the active professed is where our region gets the fair share from two lists. It's whoever is on the active professed members and whoever is on the list of candidates. Whether you have members that are on the active professed who are no longer going there, who have died, and you haven't taken them out, and it's December 31st, they're going to be counted for the fair share. So that's why it's important, one, to keep things updated, because why keep somebody who's not active on your active list? The lapsed person. I know of someone who has brought up that some people have moved, and I have learned that they are lapsed. So you can move them out of your active professed members, clicking on that name. You know they have moved. They just left. They're lapsed in your fraternity. You click on lapse, you put the date, and they're no longer on your active list. Now they can, if they want to go to another fraternity later on, they can be readmitted. Okay, and if that happens, let me know. But I'm not going to tell you. I can't tell you right now. But they can be, so that they could be admitted to that fraternity. Any questions on that? That's just one thing. Lapse. With that one, technically, it is suggested there should be some documentation, possibly in a council meeting or even in the notes section. I have here, before you put somebody lapsed and you know that they're not there, go to that note section that I have already mentioned, which is edit profile. You go down to the note section and you can say, person was lapsed because moved out of town, or person is lapsed, whatever, if they are under that definition of lapse, and you put the date. So you can always go back to know when did this person, when were they lapsed. The other section is what you were saying, withdrawal. I have learned that to be withdrawn, temporarily withdrawn, the person, the member, has to put in writing, I should know this because but put this in writing that they want to temporarily withdraw from the fraternity. The request is made to the fraternity council, and let's see. And it has to be approved by the fraternity council. So it's entered in the minutes in the council meeting. And you need to let region know that you have put somebody temporarily withdrawn. So what you do, if you again, that's what the council works, but the end result is, okay, this person is temporarily withdrawn. You, the database manager, press on that person's name. You go to edit profile where it says temporary, you press on that and just follow, because I think you're going to have to put a date on that. I do have it here. Click personal withdrawal, enter the date, submit. Don't forget to submit.
Nora, did you need me to show something?
Well, I could not make a copy of this.
Okay, all right. I just didn't know. I had to step away for a minute. Sorry.
No, but if you go to your manual, you'll find stuff like this that I'm talking about. That's why I suggest to copy the manual. So if you have somebody that's on withdrawal, they are put on the inactive section. So if you have on your database, you'll look at inactive. You should have, if you have somebody that's lapsed, if you have somebody that's withdrawn.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Nora, which might be, but anyway, the withdrawal is definitive, is coming from the person. Inactive quite often is us saying that this person is just lapsed. And
no. Okay, inactive. Okay, when you put somebody on lapsed, the system will take them out. You don't. You just put that in, submit. The system will put them from the active professed to inactive.
Right.
If you get that person who's on the active list, and I have learned that you have to have in writing, if it's a temporary from that person, and the council has to approve it. And if so, then whenever you have to let region know, but you click on the name and withdraw them, they automatically move from the active professed to inactive. You don't do that. That's where they go.
Right.
Does that answer the question?
Okay, I
Now,
guess.
definitive is when they're withdrawing from the order.
Okay.
They also have to go ahead and write you the reason why, so forth. I imagine the council has to meet on that. I think you talk with them. And they definitely, and you meet, and you and the council, you put it in the minutes. And so you can put definitive, you go to withdraw, click the name where it says withdraw. You have either temporarily or definitive. If it's definitive, you put the date, you submit, and that's that. As far did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. There's other people where I'm trying to find those links. Help me. What were here are the links.
I have one more question.
Yes.
Hi, this is Kathy Sheehan. I have one more question. On inactive, if a fraternity member moves away to another location and joins the fraternity in that location, what is the definition? I mean, it's
Okay,
definitive
what has to be done?
withdrawal, lapse.
what has to be done? Okay, if they didn't, did they tell you they moved away?
She's
Did
been
they,
gone since last.
did she give you any indication she's just gone? Did she just leave?
No, she went to, she moved to, I think it's Spring Island, and she joined another fraternity.
Okay, Dorothy, and if I'm,
That's
I-
a whole different process because that's a transfer.
Yeah,
correct, wait a minute, yeah,
What to-
the transfer.
yeah.
Okay,
There's, I'm going to speak to two things, and that's because I'm a member of the local fraternity that Kathy's in, and Kathy is our secretary. Last year, we did have 2 members move, yes.
Right.
One member was recently transferred physically from our database page to the transferred fraternity, which is Blessed John Duns Scotus, and that was Fran. Okay, the other
Right,
individual
Fran.
moved, okay, which is Kathy Kenny. Kathy
Mhm.
moved and did not transfer to another fraternity. So
Oh.
you should, Kathy is still listed in our database, but she should
As
be
definitive
inactive.
withdrawal.
Pardon?
Well, she's listed under
Well, again-
inactive as definitive withdrawal.
Okay, that's how the previous secretary before you were elected the previous council chose to put her in that category. But I know she is not connected with another fraternity, even though I personally have given her the 2 fraternities that would be in her area, but she's not taken the onus to contact either one. So at any rate,
Well, I have
does
a
that answer your question.
Well, I have a question for you, Dorothy Ann. Could she have been put in lapsed and then she's in inactive? To be withdrawn, they have to they're supposed to give something in writing.
She, in my opinion, she probably should have been placed as lapsed, and then a notation made that she moved to another state. However, the council obviously chose not to do that, and I don't know their rationale behind that. I really don't, because I'm not on my local council.
And I want to bring something else about about transfers, is that the administrator is the one who does out-of-state transfers. So if you have someone who was in your fraternity and whatever, and they're still on your database, but they've been whatever. That's why I asked Dorothy Ann, because things I'd have to be checking with her. If she's been accepted or whatever, if she moved out of state, we cannot transfer her. We don't have access to that out of state. Okay?
Mhm. Okay.
The administrator does, and she will take care of that. She will handle that. She strongly, and again, it's up in the air. We'll just have to by case, because I do have transfers here. And that was the last thing. Y'all are jumping to that.
This is Pat. I do have a question from Francisca Martis of Soroki Berger. We have a lady who has been not attending for maybe 5 years because of Alzheimer's. And before she got that far, she had told Caroline Rischberg, you guys know Caroline, that she was no longer interested in being a Franciscan. We are still carrying her on our roster, and I believe we are paying the fair share for her. Can we list her as lapsed, or do we have to keep her as an active member?
That would have to be something that your fraternity answers, because we also have some members who are not able to attend for health reasons or whatever reasons, but they still want to be active. And so we say they're excused, but they're still on the active. If you have someone who has moved, that would be, they're no longer in your fraternity, that could be lapsed. So that I think would need to be discussed with the fraternity.
This is Dorothy Ann, and I'm going to interject, Pat. Your council would have to decide on that. So as you mentioned, I believe you said it's been 5 years?
Approximately 5
Okay,
years, I would say.
Okay, well, you would also, the local fraternity would have to decide, your council would have to decide, and then you would discuss it at council. And again, to make a notation that you had information from Caroline Richborg as to the wishes of this member. Okay, but that's how I would recommend documenting it.
Okay.
If she's not physically able to come, which obviously she isn't, it doesn't make any sense to keep her on your active list.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think that
Jill, did you have a question before Jill Varney? Because if you did, we didn't hear you. Your volume's not up enough, and I think you may have had a question. For some reason, we can't hear you, Jill.
Okay, definition of lapse. Okay. I have that definition. Let me find it.
you can add it as a chat if you can't, you can send a message through the chat. But I'm pretty sure that in the statutes of the for the national, it tells you how to go about removing somebody that hasn't, obviously the council has to do it, but it tells you how to go about removing somebody that hasn't been in communication. It's certainly possible to do, but the council, if you look in the book, the essential documents, it's going to be in there, and it's around Article 21.
Yeah, I have that bookmarked in my statutes because I have to refer to it periodically. It is in the essential documents. It is under the national Nafra statutes, and it's under the heading number 7 that has to do with the local fraternity. And then it's B, where it says those brothers and sisters who neither attend meetings, support the community financially, nor have valid reasons due to family, health, work, distance, they would be termed lapsed. Again, and it is spelled out in there. And then also there's a reference to the general constitutions of Article 53.3. But those things are in your constitutions and your statutes, and you'll find them in the section, the statutes, it's in section 3 under fraternal life. Thanks, Teresa.
I also wanted to share with you, again, if you have that book, I agree with what has just been said, but in the article that I wrote on the very back page, there was the same definition explained, and it was from those 2 resources about lapse.
Nora, I have a question about deceased members.
We'll get there. We'll get there. I'm slow. I have to hurry up here. Because we are on, this part about active, they could be active members and all this happens to them. So the next thing would be deceased. Okay. What is your, can I go ahead and just explain that and then, or for deceased, it's my understanding, darn it, that I can find where I am. Okay, yeah, right here. You click on the member's name and you go to that personal page that I've talked about. You click on mark as deceased. You enter the date that the person was deceased and you click submit button. And it should take them out of the active professed and put them in the deceased. Do you still have a question?
Yes, ma'am, because I've noticed that we have 8 missing members from our deceased list. Everybody that died before 2008. So is that just the database issue, or
no,
they have to be added in the deceased?
We have to add that in, so you'll get with me at a later date. what I wanted to share with you, what I have found out, is that all professed members remain forever on the database. You're never taken off. You're never taken off. The only person who is taken off would be an inquirer who, okay, you put them on the database as we have talked about. Well, they're in, they're discerning, but they discern, well, this is not for me. And they haven't moved on to being a candidate. You can remove them and they're gone. That's the only time you can remove anybody. Everybody else, once they become a candidate and are professed, they're in the database forever. Good question.
Also, if they die while they're in inquiry, then they get removed as well.
That's right. That's interesting. I know what you're talking about. Okay. The suspension is something
Nora,
Yeah.
Jill had a question about the definition of lapse, and I don't know if you answered it for her.
Answered.
Okay.
It was
Okay.
answered.
Okay, thank you.
By the help of Teresa and Dorothy Ann. And suspension, again, that's a fraternity thing again. It's someone in your fraternity who is just doing things that are contrary to the rule, the Constitution. You have to speak with a person. I mean, the database doesn't determine who is suspended. It's the fraternity, and they have to address that. And there's a whole bunch of things that you do. And if in doing that, they decide the person is suspended, and then you put that on the database. And again, it would be the same thing, the name. Like I said, you have those links, mark as suspended, follow what it says.
This is Barbara. I have a question. Can you hear me?
Who is this?
Barbara. I had myself on mute this whole time. I'm sorry. Going back to deceased members.
Yes.
We had 2 people that were candidates, and they died before they were professed. Do they still belong somewhere on the list?
When you're a candidate, you are admitted to the order. When you are
they're nowhere in our list, either one of them. So I could call you privately and I could work that out with you.
Sure. We can pursue that. It's my understanding they're part of the order and they should be somewhere, and we can look into that. And which Barbara is this? Robles?
Umpleby. I'm the one on the telephone.
That's why I couldn't see you.
You can't see me. I can see you, but you can't see me.
Okay. Yeah, and these were 2 candidates who were deceased. Okay, we'll look into that.
Okay, and I have another question. We have a man who's an inquirer. I don't see anywhere in our database a list for inquirers. That would be Jerry. You hear me, Martha?
Yeah, Jerry's not an inquirer yet. He's only he'll be inquirer after he's welcome.
But we're going to have to put something in there that says inquirer?
Yes.
Because it's not in there.
What you're going to do, when he is inquirer, you add him. You add anybody.
Okay.
Go to add SFO member. And when you go, you have the page, you mark inquirer.
Okay.
Okay. And he'll come up as inquirer. And
I have a question for Barbara.
Yeah.
Pat Levy was never put into the database.
I know. I know. Why?
Put that up to Nora?
What?
Barbara?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Are you going to bring that? Is that one of the ones that are deceased?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And Lynn Boland.
I don't know.
Okay. Why don't we discuss that later so we don't hold up everybody?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
And then the transfers were brought up, and this is what I said. And Dorothy, you can come anytime. To me, this is a new area, and I think it's a new area because of the new transfer forms, which everybody's supposed to be using since October of 2019. And I know that that in the end, the papers have to go to the minister. And I have been told by the administrator that if somebody is going to be finally transferred, to let her know, and she will assist, even though it's in state, because evidently mistakes can be made, and I'm not sure what they are. But I do want to say, it is able, the person, okay, we have somebody, Origin Fraternity. They do all the stuff that you're supposed to do with those paperwork. It goes to the minister. They can be transferred technically. They're accepted by the new people, the new fraternity. And technically, the Origin Fraternity can transfer, if it's in state, can transfer that person to the other fraternity. But at this point in time, I've gotten the message that the administrator wants to assist in this transfer. Do you have any other thoughts on that, Dorothy Ann?
No, because I will always defer to Sil because she's the database manager. So whatever, that's the, because we're not permitted to do certain things. And again, I will defer to what her request is.
Well, this is what I just wanted to point this out, because in the database, you do have transfers. And in whatever, it does say, well, whatever, if they've been accepted, technically, the Origin Fraternity, if they were transferring from your fraternity to someone else in this region, you could do it. But we're being told that the administrator wants to be involved. So that's why I'm suggesting to let her do it, because maybe we might make a mistake and not do it right. But definitely transferring between regions or between states, we can't do it. No way. Because we only have I didn't say this, each fraternity only has the database for your fraternity. Nobody can see your fraternity. The next fraternity can't see what's in your database and vice versa. The only persons who has access would be two people, and that's the minister and the secretary. And that's only because we have responsibilities with the regional database, not because we're interested in wanting to know. Believe me, we wouldn't remember the next day. So I wanted to let people know, because I've also heard that people might be, I don't know, cautious or not, about their, but it's secured. Nobody can see what's in your database.
And
I've got a question.
The reason, before your question, Carol, the reason Nora and I have access to all of the fraternities within our brothers and sisters of St. Francis region is because Nora and I have to be accountable to national. And so that's why we have the ability to be able to look at all of the fraternities, because it's important that they're updated, et cetera, because they're looking at statistics too. And then that all goes into, gets transferred on to national as well. So there's reasons why we're asking for your cooperation in keeping up your databases. And we thank you so much for that.
Yes,
Carol, your question, please.
Okay, my question is, now that I've got a copy of the printed database, I'm noticing a person that was suspended in our database, I'm saying 5 years ago, and all of a sudden I'm looking across and it says added as subscriber on 2/24/2020. I'm not sure who put that in there or what that means, but here it is. And this is the first time I noticed this. And this person was suspended, like I said, about 5 years ago, after a lengthy, counsel. So how did that get in there?
I don't know, but if you don't mind sending that to me, and I could ask the administrator.
Okay.
I don't have an answer to that.
Okay.
No idea. And
All right.
she's on, what do you think, Dorothy Ann? Do you agree?
Yeah, I don't know how it would have gotten in there with that information, especially if she'd been away for 5 years and then all of a sudden, or suspended rather, and then all of a sudden she was put in. That doesn't make sense. So you'd need to investigate that.
Yes,
bear with me, who am I speaking with besides Dorothy
Carol.
Ann?
It's Carol
Carol.
Drum from St. Michael the Archangel in Spartanburg.
Carol, I should remember. See, I told you for 1 minute to the next.
But I'll get back with you on that one.
That's all I had. That if I'm following my notes here about the professed members, those are the categories. We went through all of them. I know. Okay. The next one is active inquirers. And did we answer the question about who? Is it Mike? Was it Mike that was asking about the inquirer? Okay. The
Mike,
next-
Emma, is that you who asked about the Inquirer?
Mike, you need to unmute yourself.
Okay, I got the answer.
Okay.
Yeah, from what you were discussing before, and I look at the manual, and I
Okay.
think it's makes sense to me now.
Okay, thanks. All righty. I kind of jumped because in our database, actually the next is active candidates is next. And it should be everyone now. It should be members who have participated in the right of admission. Okay. They are members of the order. They were admitted to the order, but they're not professed. Now, for whatever reason, if this is the first time this person is added to the database, because I am aware that some people may not have inquirers, even though it's okay. You cannot put an inquirer in a register, by the way. The register is a brown book because they're not in the order. Candidate, so I'm going to inquirers, but in the inquirers, like I already explained, if they don't continue, you can just delete them. Candidates are in the order, and for some reason, maybe you didn't put that I'm not saying you, but they weren't put in the database as an inquiry. They've never been in the database. Well, you can do the same thing, add SFO member, which was in the very beginning, the link in the very beginning, and when you go in and fill everything out, and you would mark them as a candidate. You would mark the date that they were admitted, and you should have the date when they were accepted because they became a candidate after they were inquirers. So you fill all that out and make sure that you also put about the TAL USA. Candidates can receive the TAL USA. Again, in the manual, pages 24 to 25, and there's figure 14 has about this candidate. So you can find information there. And I want to reemphasize that the candidates and the professed, active professed, is who is looked upon to get the fair share amount, okay? So if you have people under the candidate and they're not candidates, that'll, they're going to be counted because they're on that list. Keep that updated. And I said, keep everything updated, the personal information. Whenever you update, just remember to always click submit. You do all this stuff and then you go move on. It's all erased because you didn't submit it. You have to submit it. If somebody, I already mentioned, if you're an inquirer in there, you can just go into their name. You can move them from inquirer to candidate if they became a candidate. You edit their profile and do this. Same thing, you put the date that they were admitted. And then when a candidate becomes professed, and in that sheet, if we'll go to that sheet, let's look at that right now. We've been talking about a lot of things here. I'm going to go down, but if you look at 4, change members' profession status from candidate to professed. You click edit profile. And you do as I have been saying, you change things and then submit. Above that, to change members' active status, which we already discussed about. Above that was editing the members. I want to point out something, that there's an error in her sheet, just so y'all, it's technical detail, but anyway, I picked up on this. Number 2, it says to edit members. It says from home page, you click on edit profile. It's not home page, it's the members page. The only place you're going to find that edit profile and edit address, everything, is when you click on the person's name, you get their personal. Okay, go to the top, go to the top. I'm right now where it says number 2, to edit members. It's not home page, it should be members page. Home page is the very first page that you have on your database. Okay, and I don't have the member details, because I couldn't figure out a way how to copy that and send you a copy, Diane. But if you go in the manual, you'll see that. So we've covered a lot of things on this. We've covered passwords. We've covered about, if you want more information right after number 4, to use the notes, please use the notes. I'm going to suggest, you can do whatever you want, it's your database. But I will give you an example where it would have been nice if persons had used the notes section. If you have someone who is in the council and they resign or they die or whatever, and this is between elections, and you have somebody else, I don't know the history of your fraternity. If it's not in the note section, for instance, somebody resigns for whatever reason, go to that person's edit profile, go to the note section and just say, person resigned in whatever date. And that's all you have. If you don't want to say why, or person passed away, I would know was deceased. But for anything, if there's any change, so that anybody going in like myself trying to figure out things would know why there's a person that's in a position when they weren't elected last time. When they go into that position, you could say appointed on such and such a date. I don't have to know why, but then I know why they're in that position. They were appointed. Any questions on that? But I believe that page, that's why I say this sheet, keep it, because it's covering a lot of what we have been going over. The next thing in your list on the outline is inactive, and we've really looked at this section. The inactive would be the lapsed, the withdrawn. If you're deceased, you're inactive, but you may not be in the inactive, but you're deceased. You're suspended and transfer. Those are not going to be in the active. We've looked at the deceased members. There's one last thing that I want to point out about this page, and go back to the front part. On the right top corner of the page, right upper hand corner, I haven't mentioned anything about that. You'll see active, professed, candidates, inquirers, inactive, deceased, and then how many in your fraternity. Every time you are updating your database, and you might move somebody from whatever position, they're deceased, somebody becomes a candidate, whatever you do, somebody, you change, they go into inactive, it automatically tallies that up on the top. So it's my understanding that National would also be looking at that. Well, here's this fraternity, and they have on their list so many active professed, so many candidates. Some people may not have any candidate, whatever. I wanted to bring that to your attention, what that is up there. It just automatically, the system automatically changes whenever you do your changes.
Excuse me, Nora, this is Ann. I was just wondering what page you were referring to. Is that in the manual?
On your database,
Uh-huh.
Okay, the front page, your database.
Oh, the front page. Okay, I'm sorry.
On the right upper hand, I didn't mention that, under the local fraternity details, on that right upper hand corner.
I see it. Thank
That's
you.
what automatically changes. You don't have to worry about that. Aren't you glad? You don't have to worry about it. It just
Thank
does it.
you.
You're welcome.
Nora,
Uh-huh.
this is Martha. I just wanted to have a question. On the register, when do you put the person in the register? When they are in, I know that inquiry you don't. How about candidacy?
Yes.
You already
Yes.
start putting them in the register, even though they might not be, they might not go through it, or they might not, and end up not becoming professed.
I remember, again, that's something else that I can talk with you about. I remember what you had said about your register. And so I don't want to tie up everybody else, but the register, the sheets on the top, it has things like that. They'll have date of admission, and date of admission would be, what would date of admission be? What would that be?
Admission will be the candidacy when he becomes
right. So that's where you put, and I don't know if they have who the minister is. I'd have to be looking at that sheet.
Yeah.
And it has when they're professed, when they die, when they transfer. All that is written up there.
Right. Okay. So
but
you
that's
put it
something different. That's the register.
That's the register. Yeah, I understand. Okay. I just want to make sure I'm doing a new one, so I want to do it correctly.
Right.
Yeah. And going back to, could we discuss Catherine and Kay Winters?
I don't want to tie up unless there's something specifically about their being in the candidacy.
Do I have to call you on them?
I think it might be best to do that, to discuss, so we don't have to keep other people.
Because there's two names, it's got to go through Sil. But Martha, you'll discuss that with Nora. Because years ago, there was another fraternity that had two people and their nickname was listed and then their last name and then their full first name was listed. So it, it looked like there was two people, but it has to go through the database manager. So yes.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. I just wanted to summarize, if no one is, well, there is a question, more question and answer if you have questions. I wanted to summarize again. I've mentioned her name. She's her name is on that sheet, so you can see it on the very bottom. If you need any assist, again, you may always be able to reach out to me or Dorothy Ann. But Sil is also offering her assistance. I think in many things she'd rather things go through us first and then to her. But she wants to let you know that she is available and it can be contacted right there on the bottom. And there's her. That is her link. That's her email address. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. And like I said, much of the information I presented has been concisely put on that. Is there any other questions, general questions about the database?
Hi, this is Cindy. I just have one question about the TAO USA. I see that, it's indicated by a T next to the person's name. Actually, it's my personal family. We had been receiving 3 because we have 3 members in our family at this address. One has since deceased, but we're still getting 2 TAOs. And I've always felt it's kind of wasteful that we should be receiving 3 TAOs to one address. We only need 1. Can we take, the T, if the T is removed, will it stop coming?
What I suggest, are you the database manager? What is your name again?
Cindy Casmer, St.
Okay, Cindy. What I would suggest is to check with those people. It was you, right? Is it your household? Okay. And you can go to the database, edit profile, and you can, if it's okay with them other members, I would remove the top. There's a circle. I would click on that and remove it.
You've got to go. You have to go through Sil if you're trying. But if you're trying to change, where you want only one issue of the TAO delivered to the address, the best thing to do would be to contact Sil directly, and then copy, say, Nora and me on the email that you send to Sil. Okay, that would be the best thing, because I can't guarantee that they would pick up if you removed the T from the website, the database, excuse me. So the ideal thing, Cindy, would be to send her a specific email saying that you only need to have one copy of the TAL USA sent to that one particular address.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy Ann. Anybody else? Any other questions?
I don't think so.
Well, if there aren't any more, I would like to close with a prayer, if that's okay with everyone.
Before you close, Nora, I just want to say it's very good to see everybody. Woo. Missed you all.
And I want to thank everyone who's attended. I hope this has been helpful. I hope it hasn't been boring.
Oh, it
Yes,
has.
it has been.
I hope it's been.
Thank you very much.
It's been
But-
very good. Thank you, thank you.
Oh,
Paula's giving you a thumbs up. I didn't know if you could see it.
oh, thank you.
Barbara did too, Cindy did too.
Good
But
job as usual, Nora.
Yeah, it was really, really good. I appreciate
Good.
it. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. But I also, if hopefully the information is going to be helpful for you in knowing what to do with the database. I've always thought the database was kind of confusing. What in the world do you do with this? And I encourage you folks, again, you've listened to what's going on, but look at your manual. And if you can't figure things out or you have some unique problems, then feel free to contact me. And if I don't have the answer, I can always go to Sil. I have learned that you
That's
can figure anything out. Well, if there
That's
isn't
great.
anything more, I will go ahead and close then with a prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. And some of this might be familiar to you. Oh God, without you, nothing is strong, nothing is holy. Inspire us with your wisdom and love. Under your direction and guidance, may we prove to be worthy database managers and record keepers of our fraternities. May we see what we should do and have the courage and perseverance to accomplish it. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. Again, thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Nora. Very good job.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very, very helpful,
Thank
Nora.
you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
God bless you all and keep you and give you peace.
Thank you, you too.
Good night.
Thank you,
Good
Diane.
night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.